Coach, first of all, thanks for the time of joining Ross and myself. My first question is, are you all done with summer vacation? Have you taken the grandkids and everybody to like Disney World or anything like that?
Definitely not Disney World or Land or any of those places. And my wife has said that's a parent's job, not a grandparent's job. So I think I'm safe in predicting we won't be doing that. But no, we're just kind of wrapping things up here in the office. We had recruiting right through Sunday, and our players have been on campus training. So a lot going on, but the coaches pretty much are off this week, and I got some time in July, obviously, and then everybody's out of the office. Gives me time to maybe clean up things I should have been done with 5 weeks ago.
I'm sure we're going to talk about just that changing landscape and all that, but let's start with that. I mean, in your time in coaching, what summer vacations have changed because you really don't have. I mean, when Travis jokes about taking the family on vacation, you've got a week.
July's a little better than that,
Okay.
except, our guys will be back here training for a couple of weeks in July too. And just not that I'm watching, but I like going out and watching the guys train, watch them work and being around them a little bit. But yeah, most of our guys, like next week, it's perfectly quiet here. And we'll have some time in July too before we get going before camp. But to your point, I mean, we have done, and I've done this for a while. We as football coaches have done an unbelievably bad job of managing our calendar, and that's been consistent for going back to the 90s. I mean, it's just we can't seem to get a grip on what our calendar is, whether it's recruiting, go right on through. We just don't do a very good job, and makes it a little bit of a challenge.
On July 1st, the landscape's going to change quite a bit as the House settlement goes into effect. When you look at this, do you think the House settlement and the changes are the best scenario at this point and better than what you've been working with the last couple of years?
Yeah, easily better. The last 2 years have been just, chaos, basically chaos. And it's nobody's fault, but we just landed in a really weird place. And I don't think what we were doing or trying to do, the way we were trying to live, was sustainable. I remember years ago, 30 years ago, even 40 years ago when I was in the NFL, 35 years ago, wondering when's the money going to end? And 35 years later, it hasn't ended. I mean, salaries keep getting bigger and all that. And the thirst for our sport continues to grow. So with that, the TV revenues, all that stuff. But what is unsustainable is trying to, run an organized, and I don't want to call this a business, but an organized activity that involves a lot of money and not having structure. You just can't. That wasn't going to last. So there are a lot of things about the NFL I don't miss, but the structure in the NFL is second to none. They've got it down to a science, and there are a lot of things that they do. Not that we're the same, but we need to borrow some of those concepts, and hopefully, what's going to be enacted here in the next couple of weeks here will be a positive step towards it, reining some of the things in that have been, I think, out of control the last 2 years, 3 years, and really minimize the impact of coaching and the impact of doing things built for a long haul.
Chaotic couple of years that we're coming out of. Who knows what we're going to be going into with this new thing? But it did seem to me, Coach, as a Hawkeye fan but still an outsider of the program, that you navigated these last couple of years really well. You seem to have some success in that transfer portal. In a world that you couldn't have predicted. First of all, let me start there. Do you feel like these last couple of years you actually had success in that transfer portal world?
Yeah, I do. I think we've missed on one or two guys maybe, but I think for the most part, we had a good feel for who the player was and how he would fit into our program and structure. So and the one that we really kind of missed on in my mind, or maybe two, I don't know. Just you don't. The one thing is speed dating, so you don't get the depth of knowledge sometimes. And the one player I'm thinking of is we had a pretty good feel that was a little bit of a risk reward type deal, but we just felt like at that point it was the right thing to do, and I really don't regret it. But I guess the positive news is for the most part, I've had a lot of guys come in and make really positive contributions. Some front and center, but others maybe not, a little more subtle, but still significant. And there's a lot of players that have roles on teams, and I think we've been able to bolster our roster. And I'll go back years ago when Zach Van Valkenburg came from Hillsdale, or Jack Heflin from Northern Illinois as grad transfers. Not flashy names, but boy, those guys were both really good players and good team members, good leaders. Mekhi Sargent was a transfer from Iowa Western, only there because he was not recruited, not because he had academic deficiencies, and ended up being a team captain. So I think, we use those three examples of kind of the kind of players we were looking for once we started getting involved in some of this. And I think for the most part, most of our guys have fit really well and added to our team, helped our depth. But our goal and hopes are not to have to save the franchise, with one player, and that's kind of how you're trying to do it.
Of course, people are going to be watching the transfer portal this season because your quarterback's coming out of the transfer portal. How is his health right now, and how is he progressing through summer workouts?
He's doing really well. He's an exceptional young guy, first and foremost, and comes from a really good family, tremendous people, and his resume at South Dakota State speaks for itself. But so you can watch that on TV. The fans could have seen what he did there, and graduate, already got a degree in mechanical engineering, speaks to his academic prowess. But bigger picture, he's just a great young guy, and he's really got a good nature to him, and our players have gravitated towards him. And that was a challenge because he had surgery in January. So, he wasn't able to go full speed and do a lot of things that our other guys were. And, he handled that well. He's been patient and just kind of keeps working. And over time, he's really, I think, made a lot of friends here in the building and what have you. So, and then health-wise, he started throwing the ball this month, which is good. And he's just ramping it up weekly and getting his, just getting back into things. So we think he'll be more than full speed in August, and really seems to be a positive addition to our football team.
This many years in college football, one went away from being the winningest coach in Big Ten football. You're used to seeing your players a changeover every year, Coach. You've done a really good job of maintaining your staff, but you do have some new things that have happened these last few years. First of all, let's start with kind of what that's like when you're bringing somebody new into that tight family.
Yeah, so I mean, right, wrong, or indifferent. I learned a lot during my time here in the 80s, being with Coach Fry. And one of the big takeaways was the value and importance of continuity in a program. And we had that. I think we went 7 years without a change. I got hired in 81, and then Barry Alvarez left here to go to Notre Dame. So we had, that period where there was a bunch of guys that were just guys that liked coaching. Nobody was looking towards the future. Everybody was just worried about what we were doing in the here and now. And so that was one thing I, wanted to try to recreate if possible here. And also growing up in Pittsburgh, I mean, Pittsburgh's a model organization that way. And then pro sports, forget about pro football, just pro sports. They've had 3 coaches since 1969. I think that served them very well too. So, that's kind of been the goal. But all that being said, people are going to, people get opportunities. Most recently, Liddell Betts went to the NFL. And I'm certainly happy for anybody that moves on and has an opportunity to better themselves. And it's an opportunity to go out and, find a new person that's going to be a good fit with our program. And the benefit of that is, you bring in some new perspective, sometimes new way to look at it. But it's been pretty seamless with all the guys that have joined us over the years. And fortunately, there's always good coaches out there. It's like recruiting. If you look hard enough and look the right spots, I think you can find people that are going to fit well with what you're trying to do. And we've been very fortunate just to have first-class guys join our program.
All right, 2-part question because I don't want to forget the second part. One, did Liddell consult you on going to the NFL knowing your history with the National Football League? And when a new running backs coach comes in, you're pretty deep at running back. Does that affect those running backs very much?
Oh.
Yeah, I think anytime, I'll work backwards, but anytime you have a new coach, there's a feeling out process. And, what we do is it's a people business. So, Liddell was such a first-class guy and a true pro coaching wise. So he had done a great job in that room, and it's a really healthy room in all regards. So we got a good group of talented players. They all get along with each other really well. And so from our vantage point, ours as a staff, we're looking at it and thinking, it's going to be, not there aren't challenges, but, for the new guy coming in, it's probably a good room to walk into. But all that being said, there's still that process of guys feeling each other out, different personalities. And Omar's got a very different personality, Liddell. They're both good, and there's no right or wrong there. It's just both good, but they're different. And so the players have to get acclimated. And you always want to make sure, as you go through the interview process, I think that you try to put yourself in the shoes of your players and, how are they going to accept or not accept this person. And, we knew enough people that work closely with Omar where it felt really confident that was not going to be an issue at all. So it's been great. And, happy for Liddell. He did ask me about it. And I thought that was a matter of time. At some point, he might be an attractive candidate. First of all, he's just a tremendous person, outstanding coach. And then third, he already had that NFL pedigree in his resume. So not that he was looking for it, but I figured people, they pay attention, and, they knocked on his door. So once I found out he's going through the interview process, I wasn't surprised. I felt the same way with different situation, but Chick Giazzi interviewed with Tennessee years ago. And I remember talking to their GM on a Friday afternoon I was standing in our dining room, and I just told John, I said, if you guys bring him down for an interview, I'm not saying you're going to hire him, but you're going to think hard about it. And they offered him the job that day. So, good people have a way of finding the right place.
That's great. All right, so we're all learning about this kind of changing world of college football. One thing for us as fans that we need some help with, and maybe you can answer this, maybe you can't. What is the role of a general manager in college football?
Yeah, I almost laughed whenever the first time that popped up
years
ago or something like that. That was my question, same thing. That now that we're living it and going through it, I can fully, it's easier to answer that question.
Okay.
Basically, the general manager gets stuck with everything that I don't want to deal with. And, it's not exactly a life insurance policy, but the longevity of my career just increased proportionally by, the things Tower is dealing with and has to deal with. So with this revenue share plan, but even prior to that with the NIL, things were changing a little bit. We're not a big NIL or, transfer outfit, but, the world does change, and certainly it's changed in our world dramatically. Now with the revenue sharing, there's just a lot of detail stuff that has to get done. I don't want to call them contracts. I guess they're agreements, semantics and legalities. But, there's just a lot of stuff that comes with it, a lot of phone calls, etc. And quite frankly, if I was doing all that, and there are, at least I know of at least one coach that is doing all that, I mean, that would shorten my career expectancy down to about 2 days probably, because, it's a luxury. One thing about coaching at this level, you get to actually coach football a little bit and get to know your players. When I coached at the FCS level or FBS level, back then it was 1AA. It was like 85% administrative and maybe 15% football. So Tower's doing a lot of things. He's wearing a lot of hats. Yeah. Obviously, he's always been in charge of our recruiting, but now with this stuff, it's a whole nother level of things that he is working on and does a great job with. So I appreciate it because it enables me to, maybe do some things I want to do. And just like having a good, three good coordinators and good position coaches, it allows you to just, function a little bit more freely.
So if it extended your career, I'm just going to put words in your mouth, then you just promised another 5-6 years to all of us?
Yeah, I'm not putting any timelines on anything, but I feel good and I like what I do. And as long as they don't make me the general manager, I think, plan on doing this for a while here.
So I think when Scott Pioli's name popped up a couple of weeks ago, they were wondering if he had any involvement with the football program based on his general manager with the Chiefs. Does he have any participation in the football program?
Yeah, the history of us, Scott and I goes back to 1993. I interviewed with Coach Belichick twice. After the first one, he was the guy that had to drive, take this guy back to the airport, me. And I remember him telling me I was in the tank because, interviewing with Coach Fry was like so easy because he just, Coach Fry was just easy to converse with. And you feel like him 20 years after you've been with him for 20 minutes. Coach Belichick, just the opposite, total stone face. And all that. So Scott's pep talk to me on the way home to the airport was, well, you didn't, it wasn't good, but you didn't do that bad. It wasn't that bad. So that's when Scott and I first met. But, we've become friends over the years. And I've always had a lot of respect for him. That story kind of got blown out of proportion. I think it was probably just, media maybe not looking at the details and, packaging it in with what's going on in the landscape right now. Scott actually started a year ago with us, helping us, just get some ideas on salary caps, structure, all that kind of stuff, how to go about that from an NFL perspective. Obviously, it's a little bit different at this level, but his expertise was something we wanted to tap into. And basically all that was, well, he's going to continue to work with us, but he works with several other schools too. It's not exclusive to Iowa. He's not going to have a desk here or an office and all that. So we'll put that to rest. And Tyler Barnes still has a more than full-time job. So, I think that one was one of those ones that just took off running, got in the news cycle.
Yeah, I misunderstood a lot of that. Even having read through some of it, I didn't think Tyler's job was in jeopardy, but I did think that this was a position where he was going to be, even full-time in the facilities. So
yeah, no, Scott's just a valued resource. He's been a good friend. He'd probably do it for free. I don't know, but
should offer.
He's a really good guy. Yeah, a really good guy. A lot of knowledge, expertise.
Brad Hinrich comes on our show on a regular basis. Will the Swarm still be very active in pursuing NIL opportunities, and how does that all work with the revenue share? Because you got the university asking for money from fans now. You got Brad asking for money from fans now. I don't know how you feel about going to the well every time with fans, but it's there's only so much money there, right?
Yeah, there is, and talking on the radio coming in this morning, I go between the college and NFL station. They were talking about one of the schools, I guess, in the conference south of us. They're going to start charging $300 per kid, a tuition fee, I guess, or cost of going to college fee, strictly to help fund the the revenue share money. And I know Tennessee, I think, put a 10% increase on their season tickets. So I think you're going to see a lot of people trying to get creative in terms of ways to create money for the revenue share. And, I guess where I'm along to answer your question, what Brad's role and what Swarm's role moving forward, it'll probably look different. But I think to this point, the whole thing right now, we're all trying to learn. None of us really know the answers. None of us have been here before. So it's going to be an ongoing educational process. We'll learn as we go along. Hopefully this will take some pressure off the work that Brad's done. I can't say enough about him. First of all, he's half crazy, certified crazy, and way smart. He's an actuary. I mean, this guy, highly driven, very successful in the business world, and I'm still trying to figure out why he's taken this whole challenge on, but so thankful and appreciative. He's been great to work with. I'm just hoping maybe this will alleviate some of the, and not that he's had pressure on him, but I think he feels like he does, like he feels like he's part of the team, and just so appreciative of all he's done, and appreciative of his wife, Sandra. She's been very patient with him because it's got to be one more thing he gets pulled away from their family by. But yeah, he's been outstanding. But yeah, I think all this stuff as it unfolds, it'll be interesting to see how it rolls.
Hey, we mentioned yesterday, did you see Sam Laporta got blessed by the Pope?
I did not.
Yeah, I got to meet the Pope. I was hoping maybe he called you and said, "Hey, we sprinkled in a little blessing for the Hawks there, Coach." But
I got to come out. I've been under a rock for a while, so I got to come out and see what's going on. But that's awesome. Was it here, or was he?
No, he was at the Vatican.
Okay, good for him.
Yeah.
He got married, and him and his wife got the blessing straight from Pope Leo. So I told him, I wonder if he said I play for the Lions and not the Bears, but he got the blessing.
Hopefully, he didn't share that. Yeah, Sam. I'm not surprised. I mean, Sam is like just one of the all-time great people. What a great young man.
All right, before we let you go, Coach, because we know you're tight on time. We started off talking about taking the grandkids on vacation. I'm going to be a grandfather for the first time in 2 months. Any advice you can give me on being a grandparent?
Oh, it's so easy. And one observation I've made, as crazy as our world is, and we got more people screaming at each other than ever before. Whether it's politics, you name it, name the topic. Everybody's mad at each other and screaming at each other. But the one thing I've never heard anybody say, being a grandparent's a bad deal. That's one thing I think everybody brings people together, and you're about to enter a really great phase. There's nothing better. We've got just hit a dozen. Boys are up 7-12 or 7-5 right now.
Wow.
I don't know how many innings are left, but 7-5, and it's all good. It's just, every part of it. Obviously, it's a miracle when anybody's goes through that process. And to watch your kids, enter that phase of their lives, pretty neat too. So, yeah, that's one thing I've got a little experience in. It's pretty good, and hopefully this next month we'll get to enjoy a lot of that.
Good for you, Coach.
Stuff. Coach Kirk Ferentz joining us on the Rush Radio Show. Coach, we appreciate the time. We hope we get to do it again, and enjoy the rest of your summer.
Appreciate it. Likewise to you guys. Have a great summer. Thank you.
Talk to you soon, Coach.
Thank you.